Okay, good morning everybody. Hope you're all well. And for those of you who went on the field trip yesterday, I heard it was a very interesting event there. So again, thank you to our hosts, AKIS, for welcoming us here in Budapest. Today we're going to be discussing expectations for the future of AKIS and key challenges. My name is Mark Gibson. I'm from AKIS in Ireland. We are the public advisory, research and education body in Ireland, and we're also members of the Modern AKIS project. Diversity is a word we've all been hearing about this morning, and I think it reflects exactly what the agricultural knowledge innovation system is all about: connecting people and ideas across the whole system to deliver better outcomes for European agriculture. That's why we're all here. And we meet at a crucial moment. Inga has already referred to the proposals under the next Common Agricultural Policy. And of course, we're aware of all of the different challenges faced by the sector: climate, digital, economic, and generational. And of course, when we talk about challenges, we can't forget about the opportunities as well, and which is really important that we talk about that positive aspects of agriculture as well, because there is a tendency to always focus on the challenges. And only yesterday, the European Commission launched its communication on generational renewal, which is a reminder that the future of our farming sector depends on making it attractive, viable, and innovative for the next generation. So again, another focus for us all. So we know that the challenges are complex, but the message is simple. No single actor can solve them alone, and collaboration, trust and knowledge sharing must be at the heart of our response. So we have a Slido question there, which is available to you if you log in through the QR code on your badge, and I know those people who are joining us online will have a direct link. So there is a question there we'd be very interested in getting your views on. I won't go through the individual responses, but there is a question there. If you go to the question part, and you can prioritize which rank, we're asking you to rank various different statements in that. So I'd like to invite our panelists up to join us. Inga van Oost, who you've just heard from, is the expert at the European Commission and is the active senior policy in this area. So Inga, if you could join us here and to the stage. We also Klaas Johan Osinga is the chair of the Kopa Cogeca Working Party on Research and Innovation. Welcome, Klaas, to you. And Paul Godau is an agricultural economist and managing director of the Institute of Agriculture in AKIS. Welcome, Paul. We have two microphones there on the table, so we will have to share those between us. And finally, we have Rui Almeida is the chairperson of the European Forum for Agricultural and Rural Advisory Services. Welcome, Rui. And finally, we have Victor Nagy, who is the professional secretary of Magosa, which is the Hungarian Association of Hungarian Farmers Clubs and Cooperatives. So it is very nice for you all to join us, and welcome. So perhaps we could have some reactions to. I'm going to stay standing because we're short on microphones. So I said maybe, and I'm in a dominant position here now, looking down at you all, so we can send the tough questions your way. But also, I want to encourage as much audience participation as well. So please, if you have a question, raise your hand, and we will get to you. We'll get a microphone to you. So maybe first off, Klaas, if I could ask you maybe some reactions to Inga's presentation. I know this is an area that Kopa Cogeca has been, I'm sure, studying closely over the last number of months in terms of the European Commission's proposals. But would be interested in your thoughts in terms of, I suppose, the AKIS context, and also how important is AKIS to Kopa Cogeca? Do you see the value in it? And would you like to see, are you happy to see that emphasis on AKIS in the next policy?
Yes, thank you, and thank you to the organizers. It's an honor to be here. Today I represent COPA COGICA, the Working Party on Research and Innovation. At our European organization we have about 40 working parties, but I'd like to say that the one on research and innovation is the most important one because it deals with the future and with the opportunities. And while I'm here, I'd like to thank Inge for all the work she's been doing, she has done and still doing on research and innovation. And for example, the EIP, it has been a long way coming, but I'd like to commend Inge on all the work she is still doing, I understand. A few points from Inge's presentation. You know, most of the language is still there. I must say, when the EIP on agriculture was launched, I remember there were 5 EIPs. I don't know what happened to the other 4. But the one on agriculture is still there. It's working. I do remember that it was quite, for many of us, also in the government structures, it was a new concept, so people had to get used to it. But as COPA COGICA, we have been supporting this very much as we see farmers and growers as part of this AKIS system, this innovation system. And what we've been advocating, and that's still there, that when operational groups are being created, there must be a farmer or grower, or more than one, I'd like to say, involved to be successful. And the system we would like to see growing is that where farmers and growers formulate their research questions, their priorities, the questions they need answers, to have those addressed, for example, in operational groups, in thematic groups, European-wide, and then also coming back, if needed, in horizon calls, where the multi-actor approach is, of course, formulated, which is also something we've been supporting very much over the last few years, and still there. So that's all very positive. Now, the next step would be, in my view, in our view, to have more cross-border cooperation. It is there, but I realize that with the public authorities working at local and national level, this was a bridge to cross, but hopefully we can get there. When farmers have questions, in my place, Netherlands, we may have the same questions as farmers in Estonia or Ireland, and find each other on the web and work together immediately. Now, of course, the CAP and in a new structure, national and regional partnership plans are still going to be at national level, but I hope they allow for this international cooperation right from the start, and also with candidate member states, I would like to say. Advanced payments are important to get things going, especially if you are a farmer with a question or a problem. There is a bit of bureaucracy to get it going, and if you have to pre-finance everything yourself and you're busy on your farm, it would be good to have this pre-finance system in place. So you can, that was my ideal, Inge, so I have a question, I have a problem as a farmer. We don't solve it now. So let's see what we can do, perhaps with an advisor, with research. Let's say it takes 10,000 euros, the authority is saying, okay, here you go ahead, come back in 6 months, present a plan, and then move towards the next phase. So that's what I saw, and it has been quite, what I see sometimes bureaucratic still, to get OGs in place and get them going. Perhaps final comment, things are moving fast in agriculture. AI I'd like to mention. But still important, farmers need to cooperate in groups. So the EIP is a tool, but we also have, of course, the operational, or the producer organizations, sectoral interventions, and then we have also farmers cooperating in agro-environmental measures. And there is the option of sectoral interventions. They all could overlap. So these tools, different tools, could all serve the same purpose, to make farmers competitive and sustainable. So those interlinkages, perhaps talking to the Commission, but talking to everybody here, could perhaps still be improved.
Okay, thank you, Klaas. And Victor, if I could turn to you, you're representing, you're an umbrella group for farmers' associations in Hungary. What are the concerns there around future CAP, particularly with reference to AKIS, and do your members see the benefits in the approach, that systems approach that's enshrined within AKIS? And as Klaas said, that cooperation between farmers, I think, is something we all welcome. But are you happy with the direction that that's going?
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for the organization of this event. And it's an honor to be here. And I would like to emphasize that it's good to be here to represent the farmers' voices on this level. First of all, maybe I will echoing some of the things what Klaas just said about the situation. But first of all, I would like to be a little bit dark. When the Commission's proposal came into light in July, the Copa Cogeca made a statement that that was the Black Wednesday for the farming. Our association, the Magos, is a member of the Copa Cogeca, and we still believe that the current proposal it's not a good way for farming. Like yesterday, we were in Strasbourg at the European Parliament, and when we made a demonstration organized by the Copa Cogeca and members from France, the French farmers, and the farmers see a bit, maybe let's call it upset. But the thing is that they are not upset about the proposal, but what's behind the proposal, and maybe the picture is not so clear right now. As Inge mentioned, these are the proposals. We are in the beginning of the road of the new things, but the farmers need stability and clarity because they are risking their money, they are risking their lives every day, they are risking their family's life because family farming they are doing together, and if there is no stability, if they don't know what the future brings to them, it will be really bad. But many challenges occur, not only the European changes, but in Hungary we had extreme droughts like in this year and the years before, and these challenges makes the farmers' lives more hard and hard, and that is why they need some things to be on supporting them. Of course, to reflecting on what our Deputy State Secretary just mentioned, in Hungary we have many things to help the farmers, so help the farming, which is related to the AKIS. Just to mention the few, the FAST tool, the advisory services, the EIP groups, and of course the farm succession, the farm transfer support scheme. So the government use many things to make the farmers' lives easier, but if the European level is not so calm, the farmers also will be not so very calm on this. Of course, the free trade deals, for example, the Mercosur, also can affecting everything, and of course it is one thing, but changing the European legislation with the CAP, there are free trade deals, droughts, and many things put on the farming. And the farmers only want one thing: produce and live. And we have to ensure that they can do it in a good way.
Okay, so stability and clarity is I think, a good way of summing up that. Maybe, Rui, if I could turn to you from you represent advisory bodies across Europe. From the role of the advisor appears to be receiving more emphasis in this CAP proposal. So how does UFRAS see the future of AKIS and the role of farm advisors?
Thank you, Mark, and again, thank you so much for the organization, and it has been 2 wonderful days here with the project Modern AKIS, and I think that's nothing better to have this conference with so many attendees. And one thing that I really like is normally we have this kind of meetings discussing the future of CAP, discussing the future of our agriculture, but sometimes we miss farmers, and here we have them, and it's really nice to have you on board with us with this discussion. And yeah, so if you are looking for some controversy, I have bad news for you, because all I've heard until now, I think we at EUFRAS, we are totally aligned. So EUFRAS, we have now 56 members, and I guess we are increasing that number, so we want to reach the 60 members as soon as possible, and we are in 3 different countries. So, and we advocate for advisors, and this is important, quite important to say so. And as advisors, we are quite aligned, as I said, with what my colleagues just said, Klaas and Victor. So we do have also the need to have this cross-border cooperation concerning advisors, which is also very important. And we had that experience on the last 3, 4, 5 years, and has been something incredible. Even ourselves in EUFRAS, you have this new EUFRAS online coffee break where we do so. So we try to join all kinds of organizations and advisors and to share knowledge and try to understand what you just said, Klaas. It's what are the questions of farmers? And ourselves as advisors, as Inge just said, like a bridge between science and practice, we are assuming that role. And to assume that role, of course, we have some expectations on the new CAP. As Inge just presented, I think the advisors are mentioned a lot, and their role, I think it's totally understandable. So to fill this gap between knowledge and what is happening in the ground, let's say. Perhaps I will add 2 or 3 things of what Inge just said. So the first, and I'm really happy with that new part of the operational groups with more investment on broader uptake and the uptake, the results, because I think that is something that was missing in the last operational groups. So we truly believe that we must invest as much in translating knowledge as we do producing it. And this is very important, because there's a lot of knowledge out there, but farmers, they don't have access to it. And in operational groups, I think this is something that was missing. So normally what we have on for the broader uptake, it was like a conference like this, a leaflet and websites. And we wonder, what about adoption? Yeah, what about the uptake? What about the connection with confederations and with farmers associations? This is for us quite important, and is not something that we'll do in 1 month. It's things that you should have time to do so, to test and to demonstrate. And the other thing, I think it's an extra value that we have as advisors, which is a trust. It's important I would say, for ourselves to have the trust of farmers, and I think we have it. And this represents really an asset that we cannot lose, and it's something that, again, I think it's emphasized on the AKIS and on the new CAP. And just to finalize, it would be a pity if the AKIS would lose his speed, because it took so long for us to understand what is AKIS. Even yesterday and 2 days ago, we were discussing about AKIS, and if you ask for 5 different people, we'll have 5 different definitions, but all of them are good. All of them are good, which is nice. It's this kind of diversity that is one of the assets of the AKIS. So it would be a pity if we lose our speed. So I guess that we are really forcing and pushing and trying to boost European AKIS with a common vision, but different tools, of course, but with a common vision, and hopefully the advisor will continue to play a key role.
Absolutely, yes. I think that encapsulates it very well, that speed, and could I just follow on there, do you feel that there is a risk that in the CAP proposal that we could reduce that speed?
I see that risk because it all ends on the money, on the money available, And so, as you just said, this kind of uncertainty, it's a problem that we have. We are seeing the fund that is available is reducing year by year, and our expectation is that we'll have to do more with less. So not only at farm level, but also at advisory level, at innovation level. So we have to do more with less. We must be resilient, but again, do it with passion, I would say.
Yeah. Well, Inge addressed this already carefully, of course, but of course we see now in the current plans that innovation and knowledge sharing is put outside of the ring-fenced budget for agriculture. The budget for agriculture is already under pressure, as my colleague said. Farmers were on the streets of Strasbourg yesterday protesting. So this fight is ongoing, but for this group here, it will be left to the mercy of the national authorities, I think, whether there is going to be money then for innovation and knowledge sharing, because it's outside of agriculture in the current proposals. So on Tuesday we will have the working party of Copa Cogeca on innovation and research, and we will discuss this. Of course, there are many things that should be achieved with the cap. There is less money in the proposals. The final question is who is going to pay? Well, I'm a globalist. I'm a European. I'd like to see more European cooperation, but it cannot be for free, guys. It costs money.
Okay, so that's a good point. Paul, if I could turn to you just from a Hungarian perspective, what has your experience been to date? And maybe if you could cast your eye to the future as to maybe some reactions to what Inge was presenting.
Thank you so much. And first of all, I would like to say thanks all of the modern AKIS community to organize this, because it's not just alone Aki. We needed also the members of the consortium. I think it was a nice and co-work. So thank you very much, and also for the European Commission to help us to organize this event. And of course, all of the participants who joined here, not just from the consortium. So thank you very much for coming and sharing your knowledge with us. Before I turn to the Hungarian context class, I think you pointed in a really nice way that the beginning of EIP, there were 5, the health, energy, and so on. And I've been thinking a lot that what's happened with them. They didn't have CAP behind of it. And what is important, that if you do, you can create a nice strategy, you can have beautiful views and missions and so on, but if you don't put behind a budget of it, that's not going to be implemented. And I think one of the strength point of the EIP Agri was that there was a CAP behind, a dedicated budget, and through this dedicated budget, the project got started. Of course, Horizon 2020 and the research program were good to have the Horizon 2020 and now Horizon Europe research framework programs. But the CAP helped a lot, because you could integrate into the program as a measure, and through this, I think it helped. Of course, and that's the other point, that agricultural innovation is not just the measures what we have through CAP. Because if we had only just this, I would say that we do not have innovation in Hungary, because right now we don't have open call, and all of the calls are closed, but still I feel that we still have agricultural innovation. So it can be just a driver, and I would say that's a lighting point, and these measures can help farmers and also advisors to cooperate and work together. But if you wait only just the budget, innovation is not going to happen. So that's why I'm saying it's a bittersweet. Like somehow I can really accept the objectives and the visions and the strategy, but it's always the question how we can implement in European level and also in national level, after in regional level, and at the end in farm level. Because that's always the biggest question, how we are going to reach the farm level, because it's so nice. Could you please raise your hand that if you are a farmer and you are here, is there any farmer in the room? Okay, full-time farmer. Okay. Thank you. And I think this is our biggest challenge in Hungary as well, how to reach the farmers. When we talk about digitalization, innovation, according to our statistics, I'm sorry for talking about statistics, but I came from an institute which is dealing with data collection and so on. The latest data, for example, arable land, less than 5% of the arable land farmers are using digital technologies. From output point of view, more than 50% of the lands are farmed by digital tools, but from farmer point of view, when I'm looking at the farmers, less than 5%. So 95% are still not using any digital tools, which shows me that, of course, we can take out AKIS out of CAP, or not out, but somehow creating a separate national budget for it. But the question is, and what I really believe, I've been studying European funds for a lot, that I really believe the cohesion, that somehow we have to strengthen the weakest, and I really like the Scandinavian model when we say that we have the social network. And the reason why we are creating social network for farmers, because they don't like farming, but that's what they can do. But if they cannot do because they don't have income, they are going to stop it. I'm not sure they love it. They do it because that's their job. But if they find a better job, which is paid better, definitely they are going to choose that one. Which is going to lead us a question, which is the beginning, and now we are going to celebrate the CAP's, I don't know, 60th or 60th, no, the FAD and 60th anniversary. That sometimes we should go back and look back that what was the main objective? After the Second World War, there was hunger in Europe. There was no food safety and security. And the income stabilization, the market transparency, and all the things were important, because otherwise people would leave the countryside, the rural areas, and would they say that I'm going to join to the cities and the towns and urban areas because I'm going to be more paid and better paid than in rural areas. And when we are doing such a kind of change, we always have to pose the question, of course, good to have high visions, but are we going to keep these main objectives, that the food safety, food security, income stability in rural areas? Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Maybe Inga, if just reacting to the various comments there, I see you writing busily there. And just, I suppose you mentioned earlier on that support for knowledge sharing is not ring-fenced within the proposal. I mean, is there a risk there that AKIS will receive less attention, as was mentioned earlier on?
I think, as Paul was saying, it's outside the cap is not really correct. We have a cap proposal, and as well in the recitals, as in the preparation, as in the dialogue that the Commissioner is doing, as in the content of the cap proposal, knowledge and innovation is prominent. And I showed you AKIS, the AKIS article in there, really detailed, I think already moved a bit ahead towards the practical things that we know are key in a good working AKIS system. So it's not outside the cap, but the fund, of course. And then we are where I think Klaas said, it's all about the money, or Rui, I'm not sure who said it, and of course that's important. But on the other hand, it was a difficult period for the Commission. And even if now I'm retired and I'm just lending my expertise to the Commission because I'm so long in this world of knowledge and innovation, somehow it's not easy for DG Agri within the big context of our von der Leyen strategy, which has other challenges in the geopolitical world that we live in, to find some kind of balance. And I think they did a try, and DG Agri definitely defended, I witnessed that, definitely defended the farmers for sure, but the context is very difficult. And if you look at it not from the farmer's side, you could also understand that this context is difficult. So, well, it's probably not the best solution, but maybe the viable solution. And as I said, and that's our democracy that we luckily in Europe still have. It's up to the member states now and up to the parliament now. So there is this dialogue before a proposal becomes a regulation. And this is where it will happen. And we had here, thanks to the Modern AKIS project, the occasion to share for the very first time the details of the proposal, so that you know on the side of AKIS, EIP, knowledge and innovation, all the details. And now I think it's up to the players who are involved in this whole process to work it out. And certainly we are here with a community that is very passionate about knowledge and innovation, understands this cross-cutting importance for the agriculture policy, because without knowledge, without constant change and bringing in innovation, getting replies to the questions that the farmer has as quick as possible, all that is so important. But we need to communicate that also to the rest of the people who are involved. And this becomes really challenging in this single fund, because we're not just in the Ministry of Agriculture alone to decide on this. And we experienced this already in the process of drafting the regulation, that we had to deal with DGs who were working on regional funds or on, and have maybe less the farmers in their minds. And maybe in the future, you will be in the same position when you are drafting your NRP plan, because CAP is part of the NRP plans. CAP plans are part of the NRP. So if modifications will need to be done, how is this going to be organized? Who is going to prepare? Well, you have to have a coordination committee. So all those things will be new, as in this period we already had the change from first pillar, second pillar into one CAP plan. And in the departments of agriculture, you had the part on direct payments who had to coordinate with the part on rural development, because you only had so many modifications per year. So all this coordination will even be larger or wider, I should say, with this single fund, because there have to be decisions. That's what I said in one of those slides, that it's going to be up to the member states now to fight for AKIS and for the money for AKIS, because it's not in the cap ring fence budget. And to be honest, the part that is outside is not the big part. It's not like, these are like 50% of what the cap is covering, or what is in the cap regulation. It's a minor part, but it is now decided like that by the Commission, who takes the initiative, and it's for discussion. And as you mentioned, we see the demonstrations, we see what's happening in the SCA, so let's see where we get.
I'm just gonna, yeah, of course, out of the, when I'm saying out, I'm not saying out of the cap, just shorten. Yeah, the thing is that, and I think such a kind of conference are needed, and knowledge sharing, because when we are talking about AKIS and knowledge and innovation, most of the time we think that it must be a kind of academic and research, and when we are talking about, for example, policy understanding, I think it's also a part of AKIS, that how we should understand the proposal. And I think it's good that Inga came here and you explained it. Also, we have been reading it since July 16. I think we have read it like several times, and each of our colleagues and experts understand it in a different way. And so if we talk about it, that can help us to how to understand the proposal. Because at the end of the day, we have to agree. At the end of the day, we have to have a common conclusion that how we are going to do it together. So, and for that one, I think it's really good to have such a kind of platform for sharing the knowledge and understanding of, for example, a policy proposal. Yeah, thank you.
Victor, yeah, just about to turn to you there, actually. There's a couple of microphones there. We had a conversation earlier on about, some of the measures that farmers would welcome and training was one of those. Could you comment on that further?
I would like to reflect on many of the things that just said, and the main thing what I would like to say is the trust building and building of the trust. 2 weeks ago, I was in a conference in Budapest. It was about the sorghum. The sorghum could be or should be the new corn, because where the corn don't feel so good in some places, the sorghum can be a good solution. And some professor said, if a farmer tried the sorghum for the first year and fails, don't come the good yield, going back to the corn. Even the corn is not really suitable over there. That is why the sorghum could be a solution. But in the first year, the sorghum fails, the farmer going back to the corn, and they don't care about that losing the money on the corn, but I know the corn, I do it for 20 years and do it. And that is why the AKIS, the network, could come in to build the trust on the farmer. And yeah, the sorghum is one place, but about the AKIS, about the new regulations, the new framework, the new regulatory atmosphere or environment could be more understandable if the trust will be built. So that is why it's so much important. And yeah, but Inga said the communication is key. That is why we have to communicate with the farmers. Yeah, sometimes we farmers communicate in a very different way. We going in Brussels or in Strasbourg with tractors and doing some bad things, but I know it is a way of communication, and it is the most highest level, because we demonstrate what we would like to say, and we say it on our way. If we feel ourselves in a bad situation, we do that way. As just Inga said, the role of the DGs. As my previous life, I was working for the Minister of Agriculture in Hungary, and for almost 10 years, and we have many discussions with the Commission, we have many negotiations with the Commission, and we see that the DG Agri colleagues were open because they are Agri members, they know the agriculture, they know the needs of the agriculture, and we had good discussions with them when it comes to a modification of Rural Development Program or a CAP strategic plan. But as Inga said, in the future, maybe the Agri colleagues will not be at the first place who will be the partners for discussion for the new proposals, for the new modifications, and our side, we see that it will be a bit risk that the agriculture will be one step back, and some other for cohesion colleagues will come to the first place. And we see that maybe we are going back to the previous period when the CPR regulation was on the agricultural funds, and we see that this period will come, because in this current period we are happy with that the CAP has a separate own regulatory framework, and it's okay. And on the farmers side, we see that previous period we have 2 years transition period. How many transition years will come when this new NRP comes in?
Just the question I was just asking originally there around the training side of things. We were having a discussion earlier on about the important supports that farmers could receive from the state, and you were saying that training was identified as one of those. Could you maybe talk to us a little bit more about that in terms of the types of training that you would like to see, or the supports from a knowledge support point of view?
Yeah, the education and training, let's call it in that way, because as a Magos, we are working really close together with the National Chamber of Agriculture, and the National Chamber of Agriculture is really going on the first place to provide good knowledge to the farmers, and regularly or weekly or really recent days we are organizing some kind of forums for farmers, and in these forums the Chamber of Agriculture colleagues and our colleagues inviting the most trusted people to provide the good information, like the AKI colleagues made presentations also, and the Ministry of Agriculture colleagues made presentations, and of course the experts of the National Chamber of Agriculture made really good presentations for the farmers, let's say that. And of course, on an online world, we use the way of the newsletters as an education part, and we would like to be as short as we could, because the farmers sometimes they have 3 minutes in a tractor to read an article, and we have to make the professional information as eatable as it possible. So sometimes we cannot make an essay about one thing, but we have to be more focused on, and that is why it is required when it comes to education, and the level of the AKIS could help on that. The farmers need focused and short but good information.
Very good. I was at a recent event where one of my colleagues was talking about the success of podcasts, and for farmers are really, really responding well to those beef farmers in Ireland. They seem to like listening to the radio, but particularly the podcasts are very focused, and it's presented in a conversational way. Rui, you wanted to react to some of the points there.
Yeah, just 2 or 3 points, please. Yes, when I was mentioning the different speeds of AKIS, it is of course related to. I mean, I'm a positive person, yeah. So even when I see this dark scenario, I'm still a positive person always. But I can see that these are 2 levels of discussions and negotiations. So at European level, and then, as someone says already, at national level. So these are the 2 steps that we must follow, and that's why I'm a bit afraid that with the extra effort of national public funding, that the speeds of different AKIS would be different, the speed of innovation adoption would be different, and this is something that concerns advisors and also, I would say, the farmers community, because this also implies with investments and so on. The other thing that I would like to share is that I guess that on the past we spoke a lot at European level about food safety and nutrition and so on, but now with this new geopolitical context, it's all about food security. Hopefully not, because I'm a positive person, as I said, but it could be about food security, and this is something that should concern all of us. So I guess that we need even more strong farmers, more innovative farmers, more resilient farmers. And when I say farmers, I say advisors also, yeah? And for that, perhaps also more skilled advisors. And I would just like to mention, because we're talking about training also, and I would like just to highlight the experience that we had yesterday on the field visits, where we saw how skilled advisors do their jobs so well with farmers. So they were quite capable, so they have a lot of knowledge. Someone asked them, and it was a good question, how they can be updated on that knowledge. And of course, they were very much involved at Horizon projects, not operational groups, but Horizon projects, which is a quite good sign. But then they were all into, demonstrations and direct contact and that kind of trust, because they told us farmers really trust the knowledge that we get. So this is the link that I think we should be capable of. And so when we speak about training, we talk about technical training, of course, for advisors, because we want skilled advisors. There are new challenges, and not only the basic training, but also this lifelong training, which I think it's quite important. And then, of course, about interactive innovation, as we just mentioned, we have been working on that for the past, 5 years perhaps. And now we are talking about this innovation support services as the Attractis project that we have here in my left side. And so I think that's all of this in let's say in the cocktail I think, again, I am a positive person, and I think that things we will struggle a lot, but I think at the end, even with several discussions ahead of us, I think we try to achieve at least a more balanced program, funding program.
Okay, thank you, Rui.
Yeah, I don't know if time allows, but I also have a question for the audience. But few points. Back to the money. Okay, look, in my home country, innovation is quite a popular topic. So I guess it will be somehow. We have national elections next week, but I guess it will be, organized, I guess so. But in some countries, in member states, perhaps, and this is also talking to you in the room, innovation knowledge sharing may fall between the cracks because there's no more money. And that endangers the level playing field in the European Union. So we have to be alert, I would say, that's my message. But that also speaks in favor of international cooperation, what we can do at this international level. On the models, well, I'm from a farming background. I like the farmer-to-farmer approach. I know that farmers, they listen to advisors, but when they see it in practice on another farm, seeing is believing. Huh? I just had an example where a tomato harvesting robot is being developed on a farm, and it's co-creation, so to speak. Of course, one of the questions is, if then the information will also be then publicly available, or is it just for sale? Huh? That's one of the issues also, I think, in the EIP, where what we do in groups should be communicated and be available to everybody. I know there are farmers who say, okay, I have a good idea, but I keep it to myself, okay? Or perhaps advisors. So that's a challenge, I put it forward. And like to highlight once more, yesterday, the generational renewal strategy, if you read it, 20 pages, there's a lot of attention being paid to innovation and skills and expertise and Erasmus for young farmers and platforms for advice. So read it, because it came out yesterday. Although, of course, there's no money attached to it. That's the complaint of the young farmers, okay? And then my question is, look, I heard this morning on the BBC, 800 million people every week use OpenAI. It is changing the job of the advisor, right?
We'll discuss it on the next General Assembly in February.
Good. But I was just wondering how it's changing your job, how you see this. That's an open question, perhaps to involve the audience.
So join the next UFRAS General Assembly for the discussion around use of OpenAI in advisory, farm advisory. We're about 5 minutes left, but Paula, your colleague, the Secretary, our Deputy Secretary of State, mentioned the Green Support Unit and Digitalisation Unit, which piqued my interest. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. When we were formulating the Hungarian National CAP network, it was a question that what we should copy, or shall we do something unique, or shall we copy the one of the example was the EU CAP network, like in previous, like at the implementation, the lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, not all of you know what does it mean, but the different part of for the rural development, innovation, evaluation and communication. That was the idea that we should copy something like this. And we raised the question, what is the biggest problem or difficulties for our farmers? And we realized that it's not just AKI, I mean the Ministry of Agriculture, that this green transition, because our farmers try to believe that this is just the pressure from the European Commission, but we feel that and we see that it's not just a pressure from the European Commission, it's a pressure of the open market. I mean, if you want to sell something in the matured market, you must follow different green things. So it means that I think the green transition through policy can help you to be more sustainable in the future, and from terms of economically sustainable.
So,
And that's why we thought that it would be important to create a green support facility within the Chamber of Agriculture, because if you put something in the heart of the body, the green, they must deal something. Of course, it's a learning. We are discussing a lot with the Chamber of Agriculture, and we are also trying as AKI to them and transferring knowledge, and I think it's getting better and better.
What sort of activities does that unit?
They have several farm visits, cross visits, presentations, good practices. So what I've seen now that almost every month they have different events when they're bringing together the farmers, and they also have farmer presentation to farmers and these kind of things. That's what I've seen. Of course, I'm leading the innovation and digitalization unit, not the green one, but that's what I know. But my colleagues probably they know more. They are in the room, Livia and others. Probably they can share it.
I'm sure there'll be people in the room who'll be interested in talking to you about that afterwards. We're close to the end. Inga, lots of interesting suggestions along the way there, and I think you mentioned about that getting that balance between creating new knowledge and the adoption of existing knowledge. And I think one measure that wasn't mentioned was the coordinating support actions that are available through which is supporting Modern AKIS, which I think has been really instrumental in bringing together different actors across Europe. So just in terms of, I suppose, your response to the overall comments and that need to focus on adoption and that connection between research, and I know you presented the slide there on AKIS, and it was about, I suppose, creating that enabling environment. Research wasn't mentioned, probably deliberately, but do you see enough happening there to bridge that gap? There's a lot happening. Obviously, the EIP operational groups are helping towards that, but in terms of incentivizing researchers to engage more in and the design of how we put projects together, is there enough emphasis, do you think, on co-creation?
I would say there's never enough. I mean, it can always be better, but not all research needs to be applicable. We also have to leave room for bright ideas. I'm thinking about the Nobel Prize and how it was connected in the end to one of our operational groups. It was the Nobel Prize for Chemistry. I don't know if you followed that. A way, well, now I'm not sufficiently competent to completely explain that, but it's a way of extracting certain elements which was already applied in one of our operational groups who knew about it, of this fundamental chemistry research, and applied it for agriculture. So in that sense, I think we should not look badly upon the more fundamental types of research, but when we started all this up, and I think it's still equally valid, it's continuously important to have a nice set of researchers who are really listening and in close contact through AKIS activities with the needs of the farmers, who are subsidized with operational groups, with thematic networks, with the type of, yesterday in the field visits, we saw so many of these banners of Horizon projects or Interreg projects or whatever. So I think we need to all work continuously on making those connections, because it's also for certain institutes maybe ignorance of finding the connections and knowing what are the needs are, and that's what the people who are coordinating AKIS and are involved in it, that's their role. That's why it's so important.
Okay, Inga, thank you very much. We're at the end of our panel discussion. We did circulate a poll amongst you all. I don't know, can we pull it up on the screen? And the question was, as the EU prepares for the next CAP, What types of AKIS investments do you believe will deliver the greatest impact? And you were asked to rank the different statements, and we have 42 responses. We could probably do better than that, I think. Maybe we'll get some more responses before the morning is out. But at the moment, we have supporting farm advisory, innovation brokers, and multi-actor networks is in the lead, strengthening coordination between research, advisory, education, and industry. They're the top two at the moment. So please do have your say, and we might come back to that a little later on. So look, I just want to thank you very much. I want to thank our panellists for their insights, and all of you here in the room and online for your participation. Today's discussion is a reminder that building a strong AKIS is about people, partnerships, and shared learning. As we look towards the next CAP and the challenges ahead, there's no question that collaboration and innovation will remain our best tools for success. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the conference. And thank you to our panellists again.